Hello, hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another exciting episode of Two Men in Black and White, an honest conversation. All right, I'm joined by my partner in crime, Brock Ganell is here with us again. I'm Mark Hayes, based in Atlanta. Brock is just outside New York City. Brock, it looks like Signalgate makes Watergate look like child's play. Basically, Mr. Nixon would have basically sent the tapes to Woodward and Bernstein himself. It's basically what this is. But now it's even getting worse. They're getting caught in lies, and there's a little wag the dog going on here. Are you hearing that?
The lies are so obvious.
Oh,
You
yeah.
feel that. You just knew yesterday they were lying. And I really applaud the Atlantic journalist Goldberg
Okay. Yeah.
for stepping up and putting out the rest of the information today. And just saying, because there was some concern we talked about yesterday, though, oh, is this classified information? Would he get in trouble? But if they all said it's not, if Hegseth said it's not classified, then I guess he could put it out. He
Right.
posted it all, and they were just flat-footed, caught in direct lies. And and then when you went beneath the surface, some of the chatter was about trying to change the narrative away from the shitty economy because they don't want Trump to have to talk economy. So yeah, I had the wag the dog aspect. And then, the other bigger picture aspect of why, when they specifically, meaning the intelligence and DOD had specifically told the rank and file not to use apps and they weren't allowed to use Signal, the bosses were all using it so that they could circumvent the records. And now it's become plainly obvious that that's like sort of the game they're playing. Who knows how much shit they're doing offline. So it's like stupidity on top of dishonesty, on top of nefarious activity, on top of illegal, secretive activity. And then they're all sitting in the room together. Leads to the question I asked back to you is, what does Trump do with this mess? Because he likes to just deny, deflect, gaslight and move on. Like, does everyone keep their jobs?
I don't see how, Brock. In this instance, with so many lies that they were busted in, with the wag the dog aspect, because, the average American is saying, why are we bombing Houthi rebels? Like, what are they doing that is, infringing upon our national security that we need to be bombing them? And who are we bombing them on behalf of? None of it makes any sense.
Least discussed part of the story is that, right, they caught they thought that they had this key terrorist at his girlfriend's house. Right. They bombed the whole building, right? They killed like 84 people or 64 people or something. No one knows the numbers, right? Till they, clear the rubble. Who knows what the final number is going to be? But we, America, indiscriminately killed a whole bunch of civilians in a country we're not at war with, and that's the least of the stories.
But Brock, I'm going to tell you this. The other night, I was thinking to myself, what if Trump says do something crazy to get away from talking about Doge and the economy and wants to really wag the dog? Like, he's so off his rocker, and he's got no adults in the room.
Yeah.
That's just a bunch of sick infantry, lined around the table that'll go and carry out, the most ridiculous. Because, when we talk about the economy, we'll get to this in a minute, but, look at the tariffs. Like, is there nobody in there telling them tariffs don't work and why? But I just don't understand how these people don't understand. Like, almost everything they've done is bad for the US of A.
Yeah, and then so Hegseth kind of implied that the reason they were bombing the Houthis was to change the narrative, but his worry is that the Houthis aren't well enough known in the U.S. for it to truly change, because most Americans don't care, and Somalia don't know what you're talking about, and so it doesn't get you anywhere. Yeah, the concern is that Trump has to ratchet it up a notch, and he has to go after someone like Iran or like a bigger name. He needs a bigger name target to change the narrative.
And remember,
the narrative is not going away.
No, it isn't. And that's what Democrats are saying today. All day long, you had a steady stream of Democrats getting on podcasts, trying to get on in the news cycle to say this is not going away. Heads must roll. These people, and even Adam Schiff was alluding to the possibility of criminal charges. Now, who's going to prosecute these folks?
Yeah,
That's another question.
down the road.
But
you
the fact
notice
of the matter, it is.
how ratcheted up the language is, and
Yes.
the directness, and Tammy Duckworth now I think was dropping F-bombs, right?
Yes.
Buttigieg yesterday we talked about the language is so much more direct,
Yep.
so much more aggressive, right? No one's going to be Schumered, right? No one wants to be painted. Hakeem Jeffries came out specifically said Hegseth must be fired, right? No one's soft pedaling it anymore. It's
Not
much
at
more,
all.
which is great to see, right? Because the rhetoric's been strong.
Jasmine Crockett was in a goofy hearing about NPR and public broadcasting and how they're a threat to America. She had some harsh language for these DNI folks and these national security folks. I mean, this national security apparatus is literally the clown car of the memes that were coming out during the cabinet process, the cabinet selection process. I mean, it is flat out ridiculous when you look at the names that it was like a who's who of the Trump regime.
The admin, yeah.
Yes.
I think Musk was the only guy not on there, right? Musk was not on there. It looks like everybody else was.
Right. And don't forget, I think one of the most crucial and one of the most damning parts of this whole cluster is that they had an operative, they had their U.S. envoy in Moscow at the time that this chat was going on, and Ms. Gabbard can't recall which she was in.
No, she can't remember where she was. Come on.
Good and well where she was.
Shit. So full of shit. She may be coming across the worst, although it's the guy Walls whose head has to roll because he's the one who literally invited the journalist onto the chat. But maybe I'm a little more sensitive or attuned to this aspect of it. But he's trying to get out of it by saying that I think it's Jeffrey Goldberg, quote, schemed his way on there. So a little tinge of anti-Semitism, shifty, scheming Jewish guy.
Yes.
What's way on here? Meanwhile, we're trying to be so pro-Israel, right? They're so pro-Israel. In fact, part of why we're bombing Somalia is because Israel wants us to, right?
Right.
So pro-Israel, but right underneath the surface, totally anti-Semitic, right? Trying to denigrate Goldberg as some scheming Jew who finagled his way on there. You know how those guys operate.
Yeah. You know those people, right? It's a those people type of comment, and he couldn't even help himself. Right? Came
right out. It's like, what's going to work in this moment? Scrambling for what's going to work in this moment. Okay, I got to play to the base and the worst instincts of everyone out there. What are they going to rally behind? They'll rally behind some, scheming Jewish guy.
And then, even in the same breath, they tried to go back to the whole fake news thing. You can't believe this. This wasn't classified information. There was no classified information. It's fake news. Oh, really? Well, post it then. Show us because that was the exchange between, I think it was Senator Warner and Tulsi Gabbard. You can't have it both ways. You can't tell us it's not classified and then tell us you can't show it to us.
And then that spokeswoman, right, the chief liar, trying to change the terminology from, it wasn't an act of war, it was just an attack.
Right.
So they tried to the language. But you've really seen how MAGA world and like old school GOP, they're good at messaging, right? Like, so they're just trying to figure out what words can get them out of this.
Yes.
And they're trying, and different people are trying all different things. None of it's worked because it's so blatant. And it just plays to the base interest, the base level knowledge of the American people.
Right.
I tweeted this yesterday, but I'll say it's like America's pretty uneducated populace. But we watch a lot of movies and a lot of TV.
Yes, sir.
America knows you don't talk this stuff on an unsecured line, right? We've watched Homeland, we've watched 1,000 Born Identities, Tom Cruise movies. Like
I agree.
we just know Patriot Games stuff, right? We just watch so much stuff. We almost know how things are supposed to go. We know about people going to secure locations for secure locations. Like we know no one does this shit.
You're right.
No movie is anyone ever just on a regular phone talking about bombing another country. Like it just, and we watch a lot of TV and movies. So even the everyday American, everyone in America knows that this is total wrong and bullshit and idiotic and not the way our government is supposed to conduct its business.
Right. And so the line OPSEC, what is it? We are OPSEC clean, right?
OPSEC clean right now, yeah.
I mean, that's going to die in infamy with him because it's just so ridiculous. But and this is the thing. We've known how ridiculous this administration is from the first go round, right? And here it is, 2.0. It's bigger and better.
Less qualified people in the seats. Now, it's almost amazing that they've made this big an error this early in the game. Right. It's kind of amazing. It's almost like something like this was bound to happen. But the fact that it's happened in like the first quarter of the first year of 2.0 just shows you that they couldn't get any good people anymore or any holdovers. They brought in a whole new crop. And right down the list, none of them should have gotten confirmed. And that's why any senator that voted for any of these yahoos on the Democratic side is an embarrassment. Because they knew from Hegseth to Kash Patel to Walz to Tulsi Gabbard, none of these people should be in their seats. Absolutely not.
Right. And I saw Joe Walsh put out a tweet, about Tulsi Gabbard saying, you knew she was a Russian asset and you voted for her anyway.
Yeah,
because we told you, you know.
So here's the question for you. What does Trump do with this? Is he just going to ignore it? It might get too big to ignore. He watches a lot of TV. This is taking up all the airtime on every station. Yes. And even Fox can't spin it entirely in his direction, right? Even they can't deflect and lie that much. So he's good. Then he's going to try to gaslight. He's going to make sure it doesn't touch him. It was these other people, and he wasn't even in the loop. Like, the president's not in the loop on a bombing of another country. But okay,
exactly.
You would think he shouldn't. He's in a no-win situation there because if he didn't know, he looks bad, and if he did know, he looks bad. So I'm really just curious. He doesn't like to admit mistakes, so firing someone would be admitting a mistake this early. So he's kind of caught in a conundrum. I know that his wheels are spinning, right? His Neanderthal thinking, how do I lie my way out of this? Who has, he has no loyalty to anyone. Like, who needs to die in order for me to get out of the corner? I think he's going to have some action will probably have to be taken.
No doubt.
I don't think Walz survives this. Plus, he's also the name that nobody knows. So,
and here's the thing, though. He's got to do something, and he's been Teflon Don, right? He's been better than Gotti, from the first go round to now this one. And the thing about it is, will he do something else, wag the doggish? That's what always worries me, to make this go away.
Yeah, something bigger. There has to be bigger.
Right? Something crazier, right? These tariffs aren't it, because the tariffs, that's just going to hit more American auto workers, right? And these plants are going to have shutdowns. We've already seen one in Minnesota. Like 400 people got laid off up there. Michigan, the union reps up there are telling people to get ready for big layoffs, get your money in order. I mean,
so if it's 25% on foreign autos, so like now we're talking about the German auto companies, the Japanese who have these plants, a lot of them in the South, I believe, right?
Right.
Once they have to raise their prices 25%, like they're going to have to cut workers immediately because they just know they're going to sell less.
Right.
So they're going to have to basically it's going to be a wave of cuts in Alabama. Like I know in North Carolina, there's a bunch of plants. I mean,
South Carolina?
These stories will flow out tomorrow, but a 25% tariff, does that help Musk? Is Musk getting a benefit from that? I mean, every U.S. automaker is, but does that cover the parts? Or is this just a big shakedown where you have to just bribe Trump to get an exemption and then all of a sudden we're going to see a lot of these lifted, and all of a sudden Trump's crypto account's going to have money in it that no one's going to know about. And that's when you have a corrupt government, you don't know what triggers a decision. But I don't think these 25% tariffs will stay very long.
No.
There'll be gamesmanship, but it still fucks up the industry because no one knows how to game plan because you got the Mad King in charge.
Right. And how long? I mean, I know we're looking down the road, but how long will it take for us to recover from this, if we in fact can ever recover? Because if he proclaims himself king, I mean, we're stuck with this madness for
4 years. There's no fucking way we're going 4 years.
There's no way.
We can't. The country would disintegrate.
We rebel. We have to overtake
be a rebellion. So it gets us back to the question we started. We were talking a little bit yesterday. It's like, okay, is white America so mad? And now it's that rural and call it working class white American who's going to get hurt even more in these tariffs, right? Because that's who has a lot of these jobs, these union jobs.
Yeah.
Are
Good
they
jobs.
so mad at this white supremacy movement that they're literally going to be willing to create strange bedfellows with people of color and even, God forbid, some of us, lefty, northeast, liberal snowflakes.
Right.
Because we're realizing that, we're not out to hurt them. It's actually other white guys that
are out to hurt you.
That are out to hurt them. Are they? And it's one thing they're going to the town halls and yelling at their reps and they're really angry. But are they going to do that next step and actually, kind of almost cross the line and create this unholiest alliance in American history? Ever. This has been the craziest alliance. And I resisted it at first because I wanted lessons to be learned, and now I don't care because Trump 2.0 is so bad. The one lesson is we can't have morons running the country.
Yes.
That's enough.
Right. And to the fact that, as a nation, first of all, I'm shocked at the level of national pride that does not exist, right? We are so splintered and divided as a nation. You see these other nations coming together, everybody's all in.
Yeah, Greenland. Greenland's protesting like crazy. Got Ushi over there. They hit the streets.
Yeah.
They're out on the streets.
Yep. Saying no Trump, no way. We're not going to be, Americans. We are Danish and that's it. And, you see these countries banding together. We talked about, the Serbian protests where they had literally a third of the population out there on the streets protesting. And so, now, we got people that are so pissed off about so many different things, we can't even all get under the same tent. Right? And that's why what you and I...
Maybe we can. But maybe we can.
Maybe we can.
I'll say this, no one's popped the tent yet, right?
Right.
See who comes under it. Maybe that's what April 5th is all about. Let's see. Let's see who pops the tent, because all the protests so far have been splintered. Veterans, Tesla, anti-Doji Tesla protests. Some protests about the brown shirts going and just pulling people off the street and into vans and then shipping them to, I guess, black holes in Miami where they're not feeding them and people are dying.
Not taking showers.
Tests over that. So yes, they've been splintered. Maybe now we're going to pop the tent and see who comes into it. And I'm really curious. Now, veterans have had their own rallies. I'm just really curious to see if we get these strange bedfellows of the angry older white guy and some people of color and a couple trans out there marching together. I mean, I almost can't imagine it. But right now, they're all fighting the same enemy. They all have the same enemy. Their anger is all at the same place. And it is this white supremacy movement that,
and Doge, what Doge is doing to America.
Is sort of like the arm. It's almost like Doge is the execution arm of white supremacy. It's like the execution team of Project 2025. They're just implementing the methodology that was put on paper, right? Yeah, they're just doing it.
And I really believe, Brock, that they are doing this in order to get their hands on the, inordinate amount of money that is stashed between the Treasury and the IRS and Social Security, which now I'm told in April, I just saw a blurb today, in April, you're going to have to go in person to a Social Security office if you can find one and verify your identity because
Mhm.
they found one person that may have received the benefit. And it's just ridiculous that we are
Well, yeah.
doing this to our senior community, right, of Americans. And it's an apartheid based, fascist that's doing it to us, who's got more money than God, even though he just lost $200 billion. It's ridiculous.
Look, the negativity is touching so many people
Yes.
that I just wonder how many can really hang on to the hardcore MAGA mentality.
Right.
Because it's hurting someone in their family, it's hurting them. It's like it's hitting close to home. We've always bitched about it. The Americans are so selfish that no one actually ever does anything on someone else's behalf, right?
Right.
Until it actually hits their household, things are fine. But then when it hits their household, they're up in arms. And it's hitting so many households across so many demographics and cultures and races and genders that it just feels like if there was an election tomorrow, like how many does Trump win an election if it was tomorrow? I mean, you see that Pennsylvania State Senate seat, which was a plus 15 Trump district, had a special election yesterday and the Democrat won. And it's now flipped the Senate in Pennsylvania once more for the Democrats. But that was a plus 15 in November.
Right. That's
and
crazy.
It's flipped already. Like, could Trump win? Like, does everything roll off of him to where he still skates through and everyone else gets tarnished?
I don't see how.
I can't wait till Tuesday. We can't get to Tuesday fast enough. I can't wait to see those special elections. I mean, these are like plus 30 and plus 40 Republican districts, and other Republicans already bitching about their candidates, that their candidates aren't raising enough money and are underperforming. Like, they'll probably still win, but I think they'll maybe limp to the finish line. But who knows? Imagine if one of those loses. I mean,
hey, look, that Matt Gaetz seat, I'm really optimistic about that because of the location and because of the military presence there. Yes, the veteran presence there. That's where they all go to retire. They call it the Redneck Riviera. That is a beautiful part of the world. And they have a VA system. They've got a rich military community there. Between the Air Force Base and Florida living, what is it, 75 degrees year round? You can't beat that. So, I don't know that it's a shoe-in for Matt and Matt Gaetz of all people. Like, this is what your last elected representative did for you, right? He was out here trafficking young women. And the only reason he didn't get charged is because of his connection to MAGA world and the hookups that he got from the attorney general on down because of debt. I mean, this kid's been a criminal all his adult life. He's been getting away with stuff. So it's time for a change, right? And if you want to stop the bleeding, I mean, I'm thinking if you want to stop the bleeding, vote blue in all special elections.
Yeah, I mean, that would just be a shocker if the Democrats win. I mean, it would just be a shock to the system. There'd be no way to spin it. It's too red a district. But and I don't know who's walking into the booth and pulling the lever for a MAGA candidate right now. And this is that specific. I think it's a Trump endorsed candidate. I get, probably they all are, but I'm just interested to see if we get the turnout. Is MAGA turnout so depressed that at least they don't show up, and this is like the lowest turnout election in like congressional history because like no one bothers getting off their ass to vote. Like they can't vote Democrat, but like they can stay home, right?
Voter apathy.
We'll see. I mean, it just feels like this is like a volcano that's bubbling.
Yeah.
America is a volcano that's bubbling
about to blow.
About to blow. because I think this Signalgate just raised the temperature
Yes.
100 degrees. It's just the biggest story.
Remember, Brock, the military leans Trump heavily. Like, what is it, like 65-35, something like that? Right? Two out of three. Right? And think about the understanding that the military community has of what happened with Signalgate and how much at risk those F-35 pilots were at. Right? Yeah. Right? And you're passing this information around on an app that I can put on my phone right now. I mean, it's got to disgust veterans and the military community as a whole and the women who love them, right? Remember, these guys all have families, right? Well, children. They don't want to be orphaned.
Yeah, but think about all the women in the military too. I mean,
exactly.
And people just at the gut level don't like being lied to. And the lies have been so blatant for 48 hours since this story broke, and they got caught in the lie. They were lying when they knew there was evidence of them lying.
Right. And they lied anyway.
They lied anyway. They thought that they could bully and bluff this journalist into not disclosing it. And he stood up at his own risk. I commend him. And they're just caught. I mean, it's so obvious. It's in print. It's what they said, and everyone can read what they wrote.
Got the screenshots.
Yeah, I mean, but no one likes being lied to, so I think it's just another step backwards for MAGA world. Maybe we're being too optimistic today, but, you know, any day where they lose some
credibility.
Credibility is a good day out there. It's another person, a group of people that, you know, are less on board and, you know, hopefully more likely to even protest against them. But at the least, like I said, maybe just stay home and stay quiet and, you know, just, you know.
But Brock, can we do a little throwback? Can we talk about Al Franken for a moment? Remember Al Franken?
Yeah.
He was a rising star in the party, former stand-up comedian.
They had that photo.
A brilliant man who stepped down from his Senate seat because there was an accusation that he may or may not have done something appropriate with a MAGA world Playboy playmate, video vixen, something or other, porn star. I don't know what she was. But we lost that seat because there was a kind of sort of allegation. Look how far we have fallen. But her emails. So don't tell me about her emails. Don't tell me about the Democratic Party and Pizzagate and all this crap. You know, when your people are doing, and Brock, this is just the latest and greatest of their missteps, right? And we've got people on the Democratic side, because I was sick to my stomach when Al Franken stepped down. I was sick when he resigned. And we've got these people should have been resigning last weekend when this stuff started happening. And they're not. And they're going to try to fight through it and say, yeah, what you're seeing is not really what you're seeing. You know, don't believe your lying eyes.
Because that's Trump's playbook. So they're all playing by Trump's playbook. Lie, deflect, denigrate, and then gaslight in the end. I don't think the gaslighting's working, but we're gonna see. Stay tuned, right? The story's still alive. We'll be talking about it again tomorrow. And we're going to be watching closely. Let's see how MAGA world and Trump at the top of that tries to move the story or the focus off this story.
Right.
What's the game they're going to play, and how dangerous is that for the rest of us that they're going to have to try to play a game to get everyone's eyes off of this story because it's such a loser for them. So, you know, we're all at risk and under some threat.
No doubt.
You know, I don't think, you know, the tariff story may be a way to now get people talking economics instead of national defense. Who knows? You can't trust anything that goes on, but we'll see tomorrow.
And remember, we've lost all our contacts in the national security realm around the country. All of our friends have abandoned us because they don't trust us with any sensitive information. So if there are countries out there planning to retaliate on behalf of, you know, Yemeni people, I mean, like
We'll
think
be like,
think about how vulnerable we
yeah,
are right
we'll
now.
know. We'll know after the bomb goes off. That's for sure.
Right,
We're gonna know
right,
before.
right. All right, my friend.
Yeah, good
Another
stuff.
contentious
Well,
day in
interesting day.
Land.
Yeah, interesting day.
No
Interesting
doubt.
time. We're gonna see if we get those strange bedfellows coming together.
Let's hope so. All right, my friend. Have a great night.
All right, Mark, good stuff. Talk to you
All right.
tomorrow. All
See ya.
right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
How'd we do? 30 minutes? I think I gotta go.